Today we're going to make witches' bells. So an important aspect of making authentic witches' bells is to source your materials from nature with an attitude of thankfulness for the things that have been provided. You also want to be careful not to damage anything as far as the tree or anything that you're collecting from is concerned when doing so. I collected this twig from my garden because it's supple and because it dries well, and I used some forest wire to twist around it to make it secure. Now I'm wrapping some hemp twine around it. I'm using hemp twine because it's a natural fibre and because it's more weather resistant than jute. This will be hanging out under my trees. You may already have a wreath-shaped object at home, or you may prefer to buy one. You can still use those for witches' bells, but if you want to have more comprehensive information on how to make a wreath, please do check my do-it-yourself wreath video. In order to hang your bells, you need some string. I've got one long piece of string. I've folded it in half. I've taken a loop from the folded section of the string. I've placed the loop at the front of the wreath and I've pulled the string through from the back. That's known as a lark's head knot. And here I've decided that I'm going to put some knots in the string before hanging the bells at the end. It's not necessary, but it's something I'd like to do because I feel that every time you tie a knot, you're putting more of your own energy into the project, and the more you do that, the more powerful the witches' bells will be. Always try to keep a mind to what you hope to achieve with the project. If it's to bring peace and happiness or love to the family, that's what you meditate on when you're doing the knots. And after all of that, I decided to change my mind. I undid all of the knots and thought I'd do a take on the witch's ladder. But instead of using feathers, I'm using sticks from the yard. I'm using a pair of secateurs to cut the sticks into roughly even lengths, about the same width as the wreath. I would normally hold the stick at one end and cut it with the other, but unfortunately I injured my hand and it's very weak, so I have to use two hands to cut it and sticks go flying. I've got the first knot. I'm placing a bead under that. It's got to have a wide enough hole to be able to fit the two strings through, and I'm tying a knot underneath it. I make sure that I always wrap the string around from the same direction each time I tie one, so they look similar all the way down. So I've placed the string underneath the stick and I'm parting the two strings and I'm going to wrap them around the back, and they're going to sit either side of the bead. And once that's done, I'm just going to tie another big knot into the string again. It's just a single knot. And I do that for each one going down until we get right down to the end there. I finished off the string by placing a bead at the bottom of each string and tying a double knot underneath. As there are only two ends, I needed to tie in some bells, so again I've just used one piece of string. At the bottom where the stick was, I just threaded my piece of string through the loop, and I've just demonstrated here what it would look like. It basically just splits in between the loop that goes underneath the stick. Then you tie a knot in it and then tie your bells in at the bottom of the string. Just an ordinary double knot will be fine. An alternative is just to tie a single knot around the top. There's lots of different things you can do, and as I always say, it's your craft. You don't even have to have your witch's bells looking exactly the same. It's whatever your imagination brings to mind. You could use a big wreath or a little wreath. You could use lots of beads or no beads at all. But the main thing is you need a wreath, some string and some bells, and a mind focused on the purpose of the witch's bells. Witch's bells traditionally hang over a doorknob or near a door, but if you're not going to hang them directly over the top of something by the wreath, you may need something to hang it with. I've inserted a piece of florist wire through the hole of the wreath. I've wrapped it around, pulled it tight, and then twisted it together. After that, I made a loop at the top and then crossed the wires. Then I took one end and bent it around the other end and did the same on the other side. So they're hooking around each other. Then I simply twist the wires around at the end, around the loop, and that helps to close the loop. Now you have a hanger for your witch's bells, and you can twist it into different positions so that when you're hanging it, regardless of what you're hooking it onto, you can have it facing the direction that you want. Now it's ready to decorate. For this craft I used gemstone chips and jump rings to attach it to the wreath with. You can pull those jump rings apart with your fingers, but it's a lot easier if you have something that can hold it for you, like some jewellery pliers, and you can bend it apart and pop it on and twist it back together. So I've used that combination of colours, and I've used different colours on the back. Now, as far as making your own, you need to use things that are meaningful to you. You might have a small object that represents a place that's meaningful to you. You could put something on there that might be representative of a goal that you want to reach, or something sentimental like a ribbon that you wore as a child or was wrapped around a present. Anything that you find meaningful that you can attach to either the wreath or the strings is worth considering. Putting things that are meaningful to you into these witch's bells makes them all the more special, and some would say powerful. So that's the craft done. I love making witch's bells. I'm going to show you how to make some others when I put out my new video on how to decorate a wreath. Thanks for watching, and if you like my video, don't forget to subscribe.